Hi, everybody. We are back. We are here. I'm going to talk to you guys about some topics, I guess, regarding slavery. And I might play jacks while I'm doing this.
Yeah. So I'd say this right here. This is still morning for us here, so it's not quite evening yet, or afternoon, should I say? Of course.
It's going to be noisy. Sorry. I'm opening up the jacks. Okay.
All right. So in the beginning, let me say this. Well, of course, my name is Rod Bay. And it's like one day you wake up and you realize that you're an elder. Okay. So in the beginning, she shows you the kind of the surroundings of where we at, right? So this is Lost Dutchman's Mountain. It's very interesting, Lost Dutchman, because really, truly, who were the Dutchmen? Sprechen Sie Deutsch? But anyways, to the north of us is Flagstaff, or should I say, literally, well, to the north of us is Flagstaff. To the back of us, east, right, is Gila, Casa Grande, so on and so on. And here's just on the south of us. The south of us, that's really what they call the Lost Dutchman's Mountain and stuff like that. The Superstition Mountain, if you will. This is where the mountain that people come out and they was looking for the gold and the silver, and they come up missing. It's supposed to be a myth, if you will, but it's more than a myth, you know. Why would they keep telling the same story over and over again about individuals coming out to these mountains and stuff, and they come up missing, never to be found again? Now, according to some of the details behind this, is that there is a vortex out here, or should I say a portal, to where you can be transported from one place to another place, right? Instantly, like that. Now, I wouldn't doubt it, but I would tell you this right here. The military is out here in these mountains pretty much, so what's the point of that right there?
I bring my selfie stick, y'all, so we use a bunch of rocks.
Yeah. Anyways.
Comfortable sitting here.
No, well, this, of course, it's kind of low, but anyways, the topic that I was chose is intertribal slavery, if you will, or just slavery altogether in the Western Hemisphere. There are some things I came across in this book, the Apache Chronicles, right? And I noticed a few things that they said in this book, right, which I thought was very interesting. They talked about slavery in here, and I have to start at this little point right here. This is page 100. It says that the refusal of most Apache. It's very interesting because we're out here. This is Apache Junction out here. By the way, we're in Apache Junction. Okay.
I got to give y'all my dirty water recipe. My hydrator. Do another video on it.
Okay. So, the refusal of most Apache to their territory, to the territories, to priests who wish to establish missions was reason enough for a governor to declare them heathen enemies under the designation they could legally be attacked, captured, and sold into slavery. Some of the officers and officials who conducted raids against them, not in defense of the colony, here it is colony, but solely for the purpose of taking marketable captives, sought to amplify the justification of their actions by reporting that the Apache were carrying off Pueblo converts to cook and eat them. So, what was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was,
I probably do taste good because I eat sugar.
well,
Yeah.
the purpose of that was to justify their enslavement or their war against certain tribes. So it says under Spanish law, cannibals were subject to enslavement. So this is the reason why these friars or these priests were claiming that certain tribes were refusing to allow them into the territory, and once they refused to allow them into the territory, they would deem them to be savages, and they would tell stories that they were eating their converts and eating people, which I thought was very strange because in another book, the Moors account, this is the exact story that was being told by Estebanillo, aka Mustafa. I mean, should I say, yeah, Mustafa ibn Muhammad, where he was talking about where the Spaniards, when they ran out of food, what they did is they started chasing one another and eating one another. But they were Spaniards, by the way.
It's so loud.
Well, they can't hear what I'm saying.
That's what you say.
Yet if they do hear what I'm saying, too bad. It's the truth.
Okay, but you can't be that loud.
Okay, listen. I'm speaking as a man.
You say that.
I have a man's voice, so my
But you
voice
know
is
what?
when I don't care. I'm a
The
man.
fact behind that is he says that yes, he has a deeper voice that may carry differently than a female, but when he doesn't want me to hear something, I can hear him outside talking else. So you can control the tone of your voice and the level of it
I
if you
can.
want to.
I can when I want to, but right now I don't want to.
So you can start
Why?
saying
Because
it's,
I'm a man. I can choose to have my voice the way I want it, and all this other stuff about oh you too loud and so on and so on. I'm not worried about none of that. Okay, I'm trying to make a point here that they used.
don't get no answer.
Now think about this. Now these are the priests, the friars, the Catholic oligarchy, if you will, right? And it's very interesting that they're using these claims to enslave a people, claiming that they were cannibals, when in actuality you were actually the real cannibals. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to say this.
And do the younger people who listen, let's say the G babies listen, do they know what a cannibal is?
Well, they probably won't have to look up what a cannibal is, but I'm pretty sure most of us on here, a cannibal is a people eater, purple people eater. Okay? They did the monster mash.
And they definitely don't know what you're talking about now. You're talking about some stuff back in our time, man.
Yeah, well, look it up.
We said we the elders now.
Look it up.
We the old people now.
Right, it'll say look it up. Because the more things change, the more they stay the same.
That is factual. Yeah.
Yeah, ain't nothing changed.
When I
It's
was
getting
talking
worse.
to Brian today, I was like, we thought that our parents had a hard time, in their day.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they had a hard time, but maybe not as hard as we have now, because at least they had real food to eat.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have no real food no more.
Right. So I don't want to get too far away from the subject. So what it was. Now we out in this territory because this is where this is going on at. By the way, of course, it's the Apache Chronicles, but this is where in these territories is where all this stuff is going on at, right? And this is the the Catholics, right? This is what they said.
This was under your foot, like a weapon.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it.
I found it. It's massive.
Yeah,
It's massive.
it's to whoop your back with.
I like to see you try that shit. I mean, don't read before you get showed out on anything.
All right, now, if the dealers in human beings could make it appear that the Apache were eating Christianized natives, there would be even less chance of their being accused of waging unjust warfare against the Indians. Now, we were not Indians, right? By the way, we didn't call ourselves Indians. That's what they called us. You have to understand that the operation of the European, because they're not from here, they have to rename everything. They have to give it the names that they want to give it because you name it, you claim it. That's what they're doing. They're playing the name. They're playing the name game. They give it a name and they're claiming it to be theirs, and that's not true. You know what I'm saying? But somehow in their demented minds, they believe this to be true. You come to a land, right? And you don't know nothing about the land, and you have a group of people, and you come out and you start reading orders and laws from your country, acting as though that you're reading it to the people here, and you're announcing to the people here on this land that you are here now, and that we just read the law to you, and then they get a notary to stamp what they're saying is to be true. But who you talking to? You know what I'm saying? You're talking to the wind. You're not talking to the people. Okay. So let me go on a little bit further. It says here, because they get into the slavery. That's what it was about. Okay. But they said some very interesting things. It says, except in a few regions, true slavery was not a common practice of Indians. You hear this? It was not a common practice of the Indians. Now, enemy prisoners were legitimate and valued spoils of war. Now, listen at this language here. All tribes sought to obtain them, but you hear this? All tribes sought to obtain them, but only a few sought to hold them and to benefit from their labor.
But according to other people who are historians, slavery was every culture was affected by some form of slavery.
Sure.
But I've heard someone say this, I don't know their name, but she said the Europeans mastered it. Like they were the best enslavers.
No, they weren't. They were the worst of the worst.
By best, what she meant was we know how to keep them in line. We know how to keep them.
We know how to murder them. We know how to murder them.
Well,
we know how to kill them. We know how to put fear in them.
That made them the best at it. I mean, as bad as it sounds, good is what they call the best.
Okay. No, that's not the best. They were the worst of the. You listen. I'll tell you why they was the worst of the worst. But here, check it out. It says. They said all tribes sought to obtain them, but only a few sought to hold them and to benefit from their labor. So wait a minute. So what is the purpose of having a slave if you can't benefit from the labor? They said only a few sought to hold them and to benefit for their labor. But they say all. Now which one is it? All or some? Some or all? They're using language here. This language is what you would call it's fraudulent conveyance of language, if you will. They're putting a scenario in your head, and then they saying one thing and then saying another. So what they're saying is not true here, right? Okay. It says some people, especially several inhabiting the northeastern, right, America, right, inflicted hideous tortures on certain numbers of prisoners to glut savage passions. But but by no means were all those taken so cruelly treated. Now listen at this language again. Most tribes looked upon captives as resources from which they could profit. Enemy prisoners could be sold, traded, ransomed, and used as bribes and or inducement in negotiating treaties. Oh, we're gonna kidnap you. We're gonna take your people and hold your people to negotiate a treaty with you. If you don't do this, we're gonna kill your people. Okay.
Okay, you said
True.
you're supposed to talk about slavery.
Yeah,
You're reading the book.
I am. No, I am talking about slavery. I'm giving a scenario. True slavery was practiced by some people of far western Canada and northwest Pacific coast as far as California. Now, they said north, right? Which is in this direction over here. That's north, right? Going towards Canada, right? All right. So, all right. But there are few indications that existed among Indians anywhere else north of Mexico. You hear this? So that's what they're telling you. They're saying that the practice of slavery, they don't have sufficient evidence or indicators that show that slavery existed anywhere north of Mexico. North of Mexico. Mexico is in this direction, south. So north of Mexico would be coming in this direction, where we at right now. Okay? They don't have any sufficient evidence or existing indicators to show that slavery existed in any of the tribes north of Mexico. And it wasn't called Mexico, by the way. That was the city of Enoch, by the way. They changed it to Mexico, but technically it was the city of Enoch in that territory. Okay, so here it is. Early narratives and official documents are a reef with references to it, but these are both misleading and of doubtful authenticity, as the words slave and prisoner were interchangeably and indiscriminately employed in them. So, in other words, a prisoner and a slave was two different things, right? So these were interchangeable, right? Moreover, there existed another institution that colonial historians mistook for slavery. It was the institution of adoption, a custom found in the social structure of the majority of Indian tribes.
I want to talk about some stuff that you read in there. Reading, that's enough, ain't it? Yeah, it is enough.
No, I got it.
So I wanted to ask.
I can't break it down.
I want to know what they feel about cannibalism, because I don't necessarily see that cannibalism isn't a way that people had to survive back when there was. I just think that
you had to eat people.
Maybe.
See, this is what I mean.
I said maybe.
Ain't no maybe.
If you're in a place where everything is frozen solid and somebody died and you starving, maybe nibble on the leg a little bit.
Okay, let me
wrap it up with that.
No. You can't see what I'm getting ready to read. It says all Indians were involved periodically and intertribal warfare, and these conflicts were extremely costly in both resources and human lives. What you fighting? Yeah. Okay. Causes of fighting are generally attributed to disputes over hunting grounds, lands, retaliation for acts of violence, and blood revenge.
Always land.
Right.
Always.
Right. The underlying all was a fierce marital spirit of the Indian, which ever spurred him from inglorious peace to stirring deeds of war. As a consequence, tribes suffer heavy losses of men killed and women and children either killed or taken captive. So, in other words, what they're saying is they learned a lesson from this stuff right here of warring with one another and killing one another. So they had to, what they would do if they had a war with a tribe, which I don't think that these wars was violent like most people try to tell us, right? A lot of these things turned out to be wrestling matches and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It was a rare occasion. If you do your research heavy enough, you're gonna find out a lot of these were confrontations like we having a dance off. You know, who could be the most intimidating and all this other stuff like that. You know, you draw a line in the sign. You know what I'm saying, in the sand, and you say, "Step across the line." You know, you remember those days? Put a stick on your shoulder. Now knock the stick off my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Then when somebody knocked the stick off your shoulder, then you draw a line and say, "You're gonna cross that line. I dare you." You know, so on and so on. I mean, it's like we don't really want to fight. We're posturing ourselves as though that we really want to fight, but we keep coming up with these excuses not to really engage in the real brawl, right? So occasionally, when the real brawl happens, you know, and somebody gets killed, so now you got a blood revenge going on. So now that does turns violent, but they learned that because of this right here, it was causing human life. So they took on what they call the adoption institution. So these people that we're calling slaves, you're saying these tribes and these, well, I'm gonna call them Indians because that's what y'all know, but we're not Indians. But you saying it was slavery? No, no, no. It wasn't slavery like that. We was adopting and making up for the loss of life because these were still our family members. So and so it looks like a servant, but you know there was a certain people in the scriptures that was told to do these things, right? When they went to war with one of their tribes, and they said that the women didn't have any husbands to bear them children. So guess what? The warring tribe that overtook the other tribe had to marry their women. All right, it wasn't slavery like people think that it was. Now, according to Exodus 21:16. Exodus 21:16 lays down the law for slavery. It says that if a man be caught stealing another man, that man shall surely be put to death. If he be found in your hand, you should be surely put to death. What that means is, I thought these friars, these Catholic priests, these parishioners, they say that they supposed to be following the Lord Jesus Christ. They supposed to be following God, right? You're trying to Christianize the world, but you mean to tell me you skipped over this scripture here, right? Exodus 21:16. You skipped over that. You don't know nothing about that. You see, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying it was just the Christian. It was all nations that did it, including the Islamic nations and stuff like. They did the same thing, but they're the people of the book, and you never read El Bakra 2:13, 2:14. And I believe it's 80, El Macra 84, 85. You never read that stuff about slavery. Okay. So I wonder about your Christian God, about your Muslim God.
You used to say, I had a conversation with you with multiple people, and you said, "What no slavery? What no slavery? We wasn't enslaved." So now you're different. You feel differently.
No, I don't.
He says that there was no slavery,
Yeah.
and we should not be entitled
What
to
I
reparations.
what I said is that
That's what he said.
the majority of us did not come from over there. We was already here.
What they got to do with you saying slave? There was no slavery. I'm asking you because you're talking about slavery.
I didn't
have heard
listen.
You say many
Okay,
years,
let me make this very clear.
There was no slavery.
Let me make this very clear. I never said that.
Yes, you did.
I
can get Damien. Damien was in the house with us, and you said wasn't no slavery, and I'm like, yes, there was, because my parents talked about being enslaved. Whatever. There's no other word for
in 1921.
Whatever you want to call it. They were working for free. They were doing hard labor.
You're doing the same thing today.
They were mistreated. So, and then a younger person said to you that I know it to be true because he was taught that.
Do you know that you're doing the same thing today that your parents was doing?
They have slavery in prison. They got people in there working for pennies a day. That's slavery. They can't leave when they want to. They beat them. They kill them.
Are you doing the same thing your parents are doing today? What they was doing back then, you're doing the same thing today. I'm asking the question. Are you enslaved today? Yes, you are, because you got a job. They call it. I'm telling you, I'm reading it right here. They're telling you about this. They're using your labor
anymore either.
They're using your labor.
You don't have to keep reading it anymore. Just talk about it.
Yeah, they're using your labor. Labor is slavery.
Look at that. There's a woman that somebody we know would be attracted to coming. She's got all her covering on.
Her covering? What about her? I can't see them.
Her hijab.
Yeah,
They deserve so much respect because they dress in their garb that makes them more honorable of a woman. And they be stripping on the pole too. Okay. They do porn too.
Really?
Yes.
Anyways.
No. I'm talking about these women, and I'm gonna put the camera on too.
I'm going back to the slavery thing. Yeah, I'm going back to your slavery stuff.
I hope they walk past you.
Again.
Here they come.
What was the majority of us in the transatlantic slave trade? Coming from out of East Africa. Would be east to us, should I say. Right? Or south. It depends on what territory you're in. Out of those territories, how many of us came over here? That's what I'm talking about. When I say that, what about them? They have a culture.
And we don't have a culture.
We do have a culture.
I can't turn the camera around. I forgot my selfie stick. I got everything stacked on bricks right now.
Yeah, we do have a culture. You just don't know what, and you don't want it. That's what it is.
So he chose this topic to talk about slavery, and I was waiting on him to stop reading so I can ask him to see if he was going to stick to what he said before, saying that there was no slavery.
Nah, you got to stop saying I said that. I didn't say there was no slavery. I said that slavery didn't happen in the form that they're trying to give it to us, as if we came from one place. That's what I'm telling you. We was everywhere, but particularly we was here. Okay? So they're showing you, they're telling you right here that, I had to stop reading because I couldn't get it.
I asked you to please stop reading.
Yeah, I could, but I can't. So you want me to stop giving people the facts because the facts are right here. I'm giving you the facts.
I can read. I can write a book, and do that make it factual? If I write
Jesus died. They say Jesus died on the cross. Is that a fact?
The only point I'm making is you're reading from somebody else's literature, and
I don't care.
That's what he says is factual. So it's my
But
opinion that anybody can put together a book and say that it's factual.
This is not the only book.
I can put a book together and say it's factual.
How do you know?
To eat rocks and eat people, and it'll be in a book. That doesn't mean it's factual.
You know what? You're one of those people that don't believe fat meat is greasy. You eat the grease and say it's not fat. Okay? Because you're saying, well, how do we know? Well, listen, how do you know? I don't want to say this on camera.
Say it.
But how do you know that the book that you would agree to, Delectable Negro, is actually true? How do you know that's true? Because it's in the book. It don't have to be factual because it's in the book. I could have write a book and say eating a rock. It's factual.
I just got done saying that. Come up with your own.
Exactly.
Come up with your own. So it's factual to me, in my opinion. If my parents tell me something happened, or what they recall in their days of growing up, and they were both born in the 20s, and they can tell you give you statements of facts that have happened to people that they love in their family, who were beaten and hung and lynched, and babies that were being pulled from. If they say it happened, it happened.
Well, how many did it happen to? Listen.
This is. I hope y'all don't feel my frustration right now. I'm about trying to play my jacks.
Well,
this is why fidgeting.
Well, here's the thing.
As much knowledge as a person can have, and it's great that he studies, and I don't study as much, but if you had to live with it, you would be frustrated too.
Maybe
I'm frustrated with a lot of stuff that I do, and I'm frustrated with you.
But listen,
right now, I ain't trying to hide it either.
So you tell me that there's no records, no oral statements, no oral history that we were rulers of the land.
But we weren't talking about that. We're talking about slavery.
Slavery.
We're not talking prior slavery. That's a whole nother story. We're talking about slavery.
I'm not saying nothing about slavery. I'm saying you telling me that there's no written records.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about slavery.
Yeah, okay.
You're going beyond slavery.
But they're only telling you a certain portion of the history. They're not telling you the whole history. What about the history of the empires that was already here? You don't believe that either, do you?
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about slavery.
But you said that this is an opinion. It's in a book. How do I know? Well, yours is in a book, right? Or it was an oral history. So how do you know that all that oral history is true?
Well, you talking about my mom and daddy lying right now? That's what you're saying?
I'm asking you, how do you know that oral history is true?
He trying to say my mom and daddy lying? Like, why they have reason to lie?
In 1921, your mom and daddy was a slave.
I didn't say that. Rewind back and tell me where I said my mom and daddy was a slave in the 20s.
You said that a couple months ago. They was working. They was working on and picking cotton. They were slaves.
No, you're not gonna hear me say that.
Okay.
No.
All right. So in 1921,
what I and most people call slavery is when you had the chains on your ankles and you were under a boat and you were forced. So it was a form of slavery because they still had to work from morning to night. They still wasn't getting paid. So that's what I say. You know how the famous movie Roots, like that would be what we consider slavery.
Yeah, well they knew they found the Roots was plagiarized. It wasn't a true story at all. But see, we believe that though because they showed it to us on TV when they actually proved that was a lie.
Yeah. Okay. We're not getting anywhere with that.
No. Okay. Here's the deal.
Okay, there was no slavery, but he talking about slavery.
I didn't say that. I said the narrative that they give us about slavery is not true.
Are there people out there who may be watching right now who have ancestors that lived to be 90 or 100 that spoke to you about some past abuses and issues that our culture faced? If you guys would let me know in the comments, because I know my mom and daddy wasn't lying about what happened.
Okay. I never got that story from my grandmother, and my grandmother
Well,
was just as old as your mother was.
what?
I never got that story from my grandmother that we were slaves. My grandmother was always say, "Baby, we was always here. We didn't come over here on no
So maybe
boats."
it depends. It depends on how you define slavery. Like I just got done telling them. I said you could go by the definition of what we saw on Roots as probably the one of the worst forms of slavery. But as we know it today, slavery has never really ended.
No, it has.
Okay, so I'm talking about what they told me and how they were treated and how their children were treated and how they had to work for free. So that's a form of slavery.
Yeah, but that's a
And when
small number
somebody
of
can come
people.
into your house and have you and your man can't protect you, that's slavery. And that's still happening today.
Yeah, but that was a small number that was going on. It wasn't. It wasn't enlarged like that. Most of this stuff. See, I don't like to go by um, what I was told in the past about what happened to us. I prefer to research it and study it and get books and chronicles and records uh, to show that these narratives that they're giving us a lot of time are made up.
Okay, so what are your children going to go by? Because you ain't wrote no books.
I don't have to write a book
But you just said that's what
or oral
what
statements.
you just said you go by what's written. So if you're not writing anything down for our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren, then what are they gonna go by?
But I actually am writing stuff. When I'm on that computer, I do a lot of writing. I write notes and stuff like that in my pads and stuff like that, so that I can go back and reference those notes and stuff like that. So I am doing a lot of writing. I also wrote that I just
Well, this
got done writing.
conversation didn't turn out like
I
it
just
was
got
supposed
done
to.
writing for the newspaper, did I not? So I am writing stuff. I am writing about the history, and I'm getting ready to write another article for a newspaper. So I do
For
articles.
free.
Sure enough,
You're
because
so proud about it. See if
because
you get
our
paid.
our people are brainwashed and
Yeah,
they've
I
been
understand that you
bamboozled.
can't always charge for everything that you do, but it's not like that we're rolling in money. You could get a little bit of something for doing your work and your service and your research.
I do it because I love it. That's why I do
I
it.
love it if you get paid for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure you would,
No, and you
but
should too. Everybody else get
I ain't
paid.
worried about that.
I am.
I've been surviving all this time without
Money.
somebody else's money. Okay, uh, and so we.
It's time for us
So
to get
no,
off
no.
here.
See, because I'm sorry. See, you can't even you don't even have enough patience to allow me to get to this stuff right here, where I can show you what the scenario is and why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Okay.
You don't have enough patience for
Okay.
that. And then I turn around and then I gave you a scripture, but you probably won't believe that because that's in the book too.
Don't point at me.
You probably don't believe that either, because I'm showing you that these people are full of shit. The Christians are full of shit. The Muslims are full of shit. The world is full of shit, right? Because you know, you claim to be of God. You claim to be of Allah, of Krishna, Buddha, whoever, Hindu. Y'all know this. You know that if you steal a man, to sell him for a price, that you should surely die. Why? But why are y'all still doing it then? You claim to know God. So what I'm telling you is this. I never said that slavery didn't exist. I said slavery didn't exist in the forms that they try to tell us that it existed in. Right? And so now this guy, and this ain't the only book, I got plenty of other books that's telling you the same thing, because they talking about Esther
The reading
Benicio
of
in
a
here.
minute books is weird to your soul.
Yeah. No, it ain't. It's weird because the people you talking to don't know what the hell you talking about. That's why it's weird. Because they don't understand you, and then they attack you when they don't even know what they're talking about. That's normally what they do. Right?
You didn't even look scared when I did that.
For what?
All I gotta do is get the juggler.
Mm-hmm. Okay, whatever. Yeah, so the reading of many books is weird. No, it's not weird to the soul. It's enlightening your mind.
So you
But
know,
when people
you know
don't,
more than the authors of the Bible. You know more than them. You know more than the authors of the Bible that was supposedly written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and you know more
I'll
than
tell you
that.
this: the Bible wasn't written hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You know what I'm saying? The earliest Bible they know that was supposedly written was in the 1400s. So they say.
Like he wanted to go to this, he wanted to go to this church, this Catholic church over in Tucson many years ago. They supposedly have it's open all the time. I guess that's what Catholic churches do. Want to go in there and look at the Bible from the 1600s. I wish I would go up in there. You go right in here. I'm sitting out in this car. You know,
Well,
come back, I'm gone.
But did you know what language that 1611 Bible was written in? No, you don't. It was written in Vulgate Latin. That's what it was written in. Vulgate Latin. Okay. Or should I say McRobin? Because that's really what it would
I
be.
got my boots on the ground.
Okay. So I'm saying this, that slavery, they showing you there was a different form. What they was calling slavery was a totally different institution. They done that because they had to put everybody else into the same boat that they were in, because they know it's a sin. They know that this is a spiritual violation of the law to enslave somebody, to sell them for a price. They all know it, right? So they try to say, oh well, the Indians, they they was all involved in slavery and intertribal warfare, and so they was involved in slavery too. But you hear what they just said. They said that there was only a few of the tribes that only benefited from the labor. The so-called Indians, right, which are Muslims, we're Asiatics, right? We was not interested in the labor or the labor of our own people. There was only a few tribes that did that, and they said that was south of the border. They couldn't find any evidence of it, or sufficient evidence or indications that it was going on in the north until the white man showed up. And when I say white, I mean WIGHT white, not W. What? So
if you're gonna hold the attention of everybody for too much longer, I want to talk about what I consider current day. I'm not even going to keep using the word slavery, but I do hear a lot of professional black women talk about so much pressure and tension and stress on these jobs. And these people are on high level jobs. I'm not even on a high level job. And so I feel for them and I want to know how y'all endure it. You can't say nothing because you're an angry person. If you be quiet, they ain't happy. If you talk, they ain't happy. What am I supposed to do? The fact of the matter is, if somebody just don't like you, then they just don't like you.
Okay.
So y'all have pressures on the job, and we have pressures on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And then the children, you got to come home, and you're supposed to be loving and nurturing to your children when you didn't have your face spat in almost literally all day. So it's tough out here. And it was harder for our ancestors, which you don't agree to, but I know it was.
Some of our ancestors.
Les Brown was talking about how his mom used to clean houses and she had to clap her hands like every few minutes because they wanted to make sure she wasn't stealing.
Okay.
And Les Brown, he's a little bit older than us, maybe. So okay. And his mom ain't been long died.
Mm-hmm.
So you free because you got to clean my house, but you still gotta let me know you ain't stealing.
Slavery exists today. It's still going on.
So what argument are we having right now?
I'm not having an argument. What I'm saying is that the way they portray things are not exactly what really happened. When anytime you allow somebody else to give you the scenario, then you're going to believe their scenario most of the time, because you're not really, you're not really going into it and digging into it. But let's say this right here, that the company, do you know what, have you ever heard of the Virginia company?
I don't know.
What about the Maryland company?
Let's get to it. What about it? Get to it.
Well, the Virginia company is the state of Maryland. It was the 13 colonies were penal colonies. They were slave colonies, penal colonies. Okay, so these colonies, known as the Virginia Company, the Delaware, you know what I'm saying, all these are different companies, right? These were actually corporations, they were businesses, and they had people who worked for them. They were in the trade and commodities business. They were, merchants, traders in furs, whatever it is that they were trading in, right? And so these people had employees working for them. And these employees, a lot of times, would run away from their employers because their employers were placing harsh conditions on them. So they, at the ports, right, they would try to run away from their employers, right? And so when they're showing you these movies that these slaves are running away from these plantations, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, because these plantations were on ships at the docks.
Let me say something that may be a little off track. Then we can go back to that. But I'm saying, like, we know we have a small channel and we don't have tons of views, but I just feel like sometimes that people judge you. We get on here because we really don't give a, right? We don't really care.
I don't.
But when we get on here and then you start teaching like you normally teach, and then when I have opinions, and then everybody will say, well, why don't she just be quiet? Why he talking? No, I don't have to be quiet because I have an opinion too. My opinion matters too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way. The helicopter, that's the military is over there then, huh?
I told you the military is always.
What is they doing back over here in the middle of nowhere talking about some military exercise? So as far as being married for 40 years and y'all talking about somebody don't show the man respect, well, he has to respect me as well. He has to respect me too. That's just how I go. You want respect, you got to give respect. And he does. I'm just saying, but when it comes to him teaching, I can listen to him sometimes, but when you with somebody all the time, it's a little more difficult to sit and listen to him. And you wouldn't know that. You don't stop that guy. Y'all wouldn't know that unless you've been married a long time. And he get tired of hearing me, and I get tired of hearing him. That's all there is to it. It's like the teacher maybe I'm not ready to be taught sometimes. Wake up in the morning, I don't want to hear that shit. Save it for somebody who want to hit.
Well,
nothing.
It's a very interesting thing that you'll listen to people like Dr. Carr and and all these other individuals, and you don't.
Too hard. I want to listen.
Yeah, exactly. But when they say things, you don't have nothing to say about what they're talking about. I can say the same thing those people saying. I can say the same thing that Corey Holcomb is saying, and so many other people.
I give you your props on what you know.
Okay.
But nobody knows everything.
Nobody knows it. But I'm reading something from a book, and then you're disputing with me with what I'm reading from out of the book.
So what was the dispute? What I dispute?
That's not true. That's just somebody's opinion. They wrote that in the book. How you know it's true?
Let me see. So this is my point, and then I'm gonna rest it. This book was written by, the photographs was taken by somebody named Bob, and then it was designed by somebody. What's the author name? John Upton. What is his name? John Upton somebody. I don't know. Terrell. Okay, so evidently this person took some time to do a lot of research, and he probably had ancestral oral knowledge, and he probably read. Okay, so you pick and choose who you want to listen to. That's just the way of the world.
Well,
no, it's the way of the world. It's the way that we operate. I listen to what I want to listen to, and I receive what I want to listen to, and you do too.
Yeah. Yeah, see how I have this book highlighted, and then I got my other writings on the side of here. What I'm saying is that I'm reading this stuff, and the reason why I'm highlighting it, because the stuff that he's saying is questionable. I highlight everything that's questionable, like the eating of cannibals eating of people. Wait a minute, y'all was the one that was eating people. They telling you that in the book, in another book.
They say that them little people, what the little black tribe in Africa, what are they called, the pygmies? They
Yeah.
said they eat each people. That's why I said I don't know that it's possible that people eat people. I mean, I could see how.
Well, how do we know that's true?
Exactly. Exactly.
We don't know. They just, but this is what I'm
Man,
saying.
you get hungry enough, you eat anything.
Listen.
Okay. You get hungry enough, you eat anything, and be glad. Probably eat it raw too.
Well, in the beginning, it was not so.
You wasn't in the beginning.
Yes, I was. How can I not be in the beginning when I came from God?
Whoa!
Okay.
I got my boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What
you need to have some more boots on the ground. Now you grab this book and you say, "Oh, let me see," but you didn't read nothing. So this guy right here.
No. So
you didn't read anything.
So you're just gonna insult me?
That's not an insult. I said you didn't read anything. You didn't.
So why can't I just give you your propers are that you're a reader, you're a studier, or you're an avid researcher, and that's great, and you stand firm on those things. But that doesn't mean that I have to accept everything that you teach.
You don't have to,
because I have my own brain.
You don't have to. But listen, that's why I had you take a picture of the surrounding first.
How come women can't think independently without being disrespectful of their husbands? I got a mind too. I don't have to sit here and agree with everything you say. Why do I have to do that? Just because the camera on? I'm not doing that. I'm gonna be who I am. Y'all don't like it? Click. Keep scrolling then.
I'm making a point here. Why did I see? I'm gonna ask you a question now.
You're getting hot up in here with this.
Why did I have you take a picture of the surroundings first, or should I say, a video of the surroundings?
Yeah.
You know why I did that? Because they're talking about this. They're talking about this territory in this book. They're describing this whole territory in this book. That's why I had to do it first. Right? So how in the hell these people writing these books, going back to the 1500s, all the way through the 1800s, describing these lands out here, if they don't know something about what really happened? There's a record somewhere that this stuff was going on. And I'm reading the record about what they say is going on. Some of the records are questionable now. Not everything that they're saying is believable. I have to go and research what they're saying, because the minute they said something about that it was lawful for them to enslave somebody because they don't believe in their religion. Well, wait a minute. Your religion in Exodus 21:16 said that you're not supposed to be stealing no man and selling them for a price. So where do you get slavery out of that? How do you justify slavery when there is no justification for slavery at all? At all.
That's true.
Because it's an act of violence. You gotta commit an act you gotta commit an act of violence against somebody to take a whole people in slavery. Why are you doing that? Because they don't believe what you believe? You see what I'm saying?
No, somebody broke it down. I'm sorry, I don't remember these people's names, because there's a lot of people out there that are way smarter than me, and they research like him, and they were saying it's mainly because they don't see you as equal. You're not equal to them.
But you're
not a human.
You're God-fearing, all right? You God-fearing.
I feel my God. You fear Allah. God. We got a different God.
You fear Allah.
When they go to church on Sunday, they don't serve the same God that you serve.
That's exactly how we think.
No, that's factual.
That's how we think.
I mean, that's why they got so many different Bibles and so many versions of the Bible. They got gay Bibles now, don't they?
What I'm saying is, listen.
Or whoever, the LGBTQs, man, not trying to be offensive.
Okay. Why, if you saying that you know God, what scripture or what writing can, and I won't say scripture, but I'm going to say the so-called people of the book, what can you give me to show me that it was a lawful act to go in and kill a whole people and enslave them, take their lands from them, murder their children, murder the women, and take their land from them. What cause do you have to do that?
Oh, like the young girl told me, the one that was on the monkey bars. Yo, I work at before and after school program. I'm gonna tell y'all some of the stuff those kids be telling me. But one of them told me, I asked her, I said, why do you keep doing that after I told you not to do that? Because I have the freedom and the right to do whatever I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Checkmate.
You do.
She checked me.
As long as
who's gonna do something about it?
No. We all have that right. As long as you're not destroying someone else's property.
My grandchildren would never speak to an adult that way.
No, they wouldn't. They just
First
know.
of all,
they
because
just
they
know
know they don't have the freedom and the right to do whatever they want to do now without getting that beep.
No. Listen. Anyways, these I did that because, like I said, over on the other side of us, they have
starting to hurt. You ready to get up in a little bit?
Yeah, in a little bit. Yeah, over on the other side of us, to the south of us, they have a medieval campground, right? That medieval campground is reenactments of what the conquistadors were doing when they came here.
You know who the conquistadors were?
The Spaniards, whom they call Mexicans today and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? The Mexicans, or the Meshi people, were an African people. Meshi's people, they were African. So today what you're looking at is a people that are mestizo. They're mixed Africans, down to the last degree. And they get, you know what I'm saying, they're getting further and farther away from what the original actually really was. And the original was an African.
I gotta get home and start redoing my hair.
Yeah, okay.
We can talk to him for an hour. What do you want to say in closing,
Okay.
Pastor? We tried to close.
So, irregardless of this idea, and see, people do this to me all the time. They say, "Oh, you say there wasn't." Some. I said, "Listen, you got to listen to me a lot more closer. I never said that slavery didn't exist. It just didn't exist in the forms that people want us to believe that it existed in. And it's a justification too. They're still trying to justify the evil that men have done when they start doing this stuff right here. So they want to keep the crap going, right? So I'm trying to, meet it at its crossroad, right in the middle. Let's get down to the real facts, because we always talk about slavery, but we leave out our other history. Because greater than the slavery was the history of our empire. On this right here, the history of our empire was here. But they never talk about it.
Break down a scripture that, because you made me think about it, where it said, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world.
Yeah, my father, all of them. Arm, leg, arm, head. So,
I hate when you say that.
Listen, never was a time that man did not exist. Okay? So we don't talk about, and this is what perturbs me about our people, because I said before earlier that in the first Continental Congress, there was 55 delegates, roughly around about that. So, and out of 35 of those delegates, or should I say out of the 55, 35 of those delegates were us in the first Continental Congress. That sound like slavery to you? In the second Continental Congress, it was just as many of us. That sound like slavery to you?
They said the first president was a black man.
Yeah, we know that.
No, we don't know that.
Yeah, well, it's a fact. It's factual.
We don't never see him. He ain't on the White House wall to list the presidents.
Where do you think they're going to do that? Because they want to keep you in the same construct.
I want to show y'all how to play jacks.
Hold on now.
You better hurry close.
Listen.
Can't see it though. I have to do it on the.
There's treaties.
There's treaties. There's treaties.
Yeah. And who did these people go into a treaty with? I'm asking you.
Ask them.
No.
Who are we going to a treaty with, you guys? Probably other countries. Oh, I'm not supposed to touch it. I forget.
Okay. What I'm
We
saying
gotta
is
close, though.
what I'm saying is this right here. Why would a foreign people come here and enter into a treaty with anybody that's here? Obviously, there must have been another government that was already here, because you're coming in here, and all treaties are commerce treaties, by the way. Okay? It's about commerce, trade, business, import, export business, so on and so on. Okay? Now, while we always talk about the slave history, how come we don't know anything about, the, should I say, and I don't use the word, the torrent. How come we don't know about the torrent system? Let me say that. The torrent system was about a system of land that belonged to a particular people, right? And you have to get a different book. This book right here doesn't explain the structure and the science, the structures that were here, the hospitals, the roads, the use of lights, electricity, so on and so on here. If you don't believe me, start following the world fairs and see in the 1800s and even in the 1700s how the cities were constructed and looked at here.
Let them get a picture of that Indian
Right.
in their book. Turn it around. Yeah, we're gonna close.
This is a modern day picture.
He looks just like them.
And well, this is a mongoloid.